The NBA Cup, a massive disaster for Adam Silver and the league. What is going on and why are prices right now plummeting along with ratings? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the channel. Only about 20% of you are subscribed right now to this channel. The other 80%, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Just hit the button. All right. Let's get into this. Joined by Donnie Freeman. Donnie, the NBA. Look, I've enjoyed the NBA Cup, but obviously something is not going right here because ticket prices are absolutely plummeting in Vegas. In fact, last year's average purchase price was $237. This year's is $98 right now. Is this just the teams that are involved? What the heck is happening?
Oh, I think the teams is a big part of it. Like I can imagine if we got the inverse matchup where it's like, Golden State, New York, how much those would have been. That would have been kind of crazy. But because those were the other two teans that got eliminated, right? Golden State, New York.
Yep, Golden State, New York, and obviously those were two teams that I think most people that are selling tickets were hoping would not get eliminated of those that were still standing. So we have Bucks,
that's
Hawks.
A big part of it, though.
It's got to be Bucks, Hawks, Thunder, Rockets, and then the Cup Finals, $79, $29 the get-in price, according to Arash Markazi. It's the teams, but we've also been talking about this, Donnie. You've got ratings have been dropping around the NBA as well. Is the NBA Cup simply not working?
Well, what I think is, okay, so we have a whole video on the topic of why ratings have dropped in the league. And we talk about a lot of different things, like a lot of things. So you could definitely check that out when you finish this one. But I think some of the things we talked about in that video are true here. And I don't really know that it's the NBA Cup specifically. I think that one of the core issues the league has is they have been more so about marketing players lately instead of marketing teams. And so these are some awesome teams, but I just don't think that they're like the marquee matchups, regardless of how good they are. Like in the case of the Thunder, I don't think these are the matchups that, are going to garner some of the attention that they're looking for, because the NBA has not marketed even some of its stars, but a lot of these teams, they just kind of haven't done it great over the last couple decades here. And I think that's a huge issue to where, like, if you don't have a LeBron, you don't have a Steph, things can get pretty difficult in terms of the ratings overall. And just outside of this, the ratings have also kind of gone down too. But I think what's interesting about this is that I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, because one of the big issues the NBA has is that they've been pricing out a lot of the fans from even going to these games. Like the diehard fans can't really make it to a lot of these. I mean, what was it, $300 for the last year? Like and obviously you can. And there's another layer to that too, where it's like, if you do go to a game, will stars play? And this is not for the NBA Cup, but just in general, I can see that where that could be a problem too. So I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing from the fan perspective, but for the NBA, they obviously don't want this to be happening for a new in-season tournament that should still feel pretty fresh. And I think part of last year too was that it was fresh. You had LeBron there, you had AD there, the Lakers, and it was fresh. It was the first time, all that stuff too. So I think there's a lot of different factors.
Well, when we look at the pricing from last year, and I think you're absolutely right. When we look at the pricing from last year, it's the fact that it's being held in Vegas that matters. Vegas is a Lakers town, and you're also going to get, so because of proximity, you're going to get a lot of Warriors fans too. So if it's Warriors or Lakers there in Vegas, the ticket prices are going to go up. I do think, though, that when you're looking at the tournament itself, you look at this last night, 91-90, the Rockets beat the Warriors, and I loved it. It was this game was a blast. Even had a controversial ending with a foul call that maybe shouldn't have been called, and I loved this game.
It's an old school score too.
Right, yeah, it's an old school score. Maybe that's why I loved it so much, because I'm old. But most fans, like the casual fan, is not going to get excited about 91-90. Now, I think there's a flip side to it, where a lot of fans right now are frustrated and pissed off and tired of the just constant 3-point shooting, and that's another topic that we'll get into. And they don't, if a team scores 140 points, but the feeling is there's no defense, then also people don't care. But a defensive rock fight like we saw against the Rockets and the Warriors in last night's game, that's also not going to attract as much positive attention. So that's part of it too. When we look at the teams that advanced, the Rockets are getting it done with defense. The Thunder are getting it done with defense. You do bring up the positive side of it in terms of the glass is half full. The positive side being, if you're if it's me, oh my God, like, yes, please. I don't care if Thunder Rockets is a 90-point game per team. Great. Let's go. Those two teams are going to get after it defensively. It's going to be exciting. I'm going to love it. But I'm not the fan that the NBA cares about. The casual fan base is much larger. And I know casual is a derogatory term at this point. The fans like to throw at each other. But the casual fan base absolutely matters. And you've got these teams that are focusing on the defensive side of the ball, as they should be. Defense wins championships, but maybe it doesn't create as compelling of a matchup for these teams. But you also talked about the lack of stars, or the focus on star players in terms of marketing in the NBA instead of teams. I'll tell you this, the Thunder, they play an insanely entertaining brand of basketball. The Rockets do too. They are a joy to watch, and we can talk about the Hawks too with the way they play. The Bucks, Giannis has his moments, but when you market specifically to stars rather than teams and play style and all of that, and there's no LeBron and there's no Steph, suddenly you run into problems like this, which, Donnie, begs a bigger question for the NBA. How much sleep do you think Adam Silver is getting, recognizing that the clock is ticking on the LeBron and Steph era?
Oh, yeah, I think that's where things get a little bit interesting, which is why, like, over the last few years, they've been really trying to put some of the younger guys in the spotlight. Wemby, Ant, Luka over the last handful of years here, while he's been in the NBA, he's been electric. They've really been trying to find their next couple of guys, and the way LeBron's playing, him and Steph may go out together in a couple of years here. So I don't really know, or maybe it's back to back or something like that, but it's going to be kind of crazy when we finally hit that, like, no LeBron, no Steph, no KD, some of these older guys that are draws. And I do think that is a thing. But I also, like, on the topic of, like, ratings, because there's like a dozen reasons as to why it is what it is. And you can make an argument for each, and you wouldn't be wrong. Like, you could say all these different things. On the topic, though, I do think that another piece of this that maybe the NBA is okay with is that while, like, the numbers are down on, like, ESPN or something like that, they know they've still got the online viewership. They know they still got the worldwide viewership as well. Like, I think that matters a lot too, because just because it's down, like, you know, in ESPN, they're still packing arenas, they're still doing all these other things that matter as much too. So I think that's where the rating stuff is maybe a little bit overblown, but regardless, I think that the NBA is going to be in a weird spot when some of these stars are gone and they're looking around like, who is the next guy? Because they haven't had to deal with that for a really long time. Jordan, prior to Jordan, there was some guys obviously, but Jordan, then it goes to Kobe and LeBron's around, and they've had a very smooth ride, and they haven't had to worry about this because I don't know that they've found their next, like, absolute definitive face here. So it's kind of crazy.
Donnie, the hat on my head will not let me let you get away with saying some guys before. You're talking about Magic. Come on, and Larry Bird and Kareem. Come on.
I shouldn't have done that because they are so important to the NBA. We have they are, man. I gotta give them a bit of respect. You're right.
But you know, like, I think that you're onto something there with, as far as the post LeBron era and everything. I think there's a couple of problems. I mean, you look at these matters, like, ticket prices are plummeting because LeBron's not there, right? That's really what we're talking about here. LeBron's not there, Steph's not there, KD's not there. Ticket prices are plummeting. And I think that you've got a couple of problems. Like, number one, you're marketing to stars, or marketing stars specifically rather than teams. These teams are fun. The Thunder are the best team in the West right now, maybe the best team in the NBA. They have the best point differential in the NBA. They are awesome. The Rockets play a fun brand of basketball as well. Even if it's defensive heavy, it's still a very fun product, I think. And you've got Giannis, multi-time MVP. Trae Young, he's going to shoot from anywhere, right? You've got SGA, one of the rising stars, maybe the MVP of the league this year. We'll see, but he's one of the names that's in the mix. And the Rockets have plenty of young talent on this group as well. But I think you've got two problems here. And number one is that it's not LeBron, it's not Steph, right? Those guys, those established KD, those established guys are not there. But number two, and maybe this speaks to a bigger concern for the NBA, is you look at the next generation of stars. What do they all have in common? Luka, Giannis, Jokic. You look at even
Are those two really in it because they're both like 30.
Well, but I mean, because LeBron's almost 40. Like that's they are the next generation here, right? Okay. Even SGA. What do they all have in common? They're not American. Yeah. They're not like, and maybe that shouldn't be a factor, but it seems to be. Who's the next big American star? The NBA badly wants it to be Ant, and kind of get there. I don't know that he's quite ready for that yet. They put him on opening night against LeBron to try to get some of that spotlight on him. And then you've got what? Jason Tatum? The fans that complain about the NBA, one of the things they complain about is too many threes being jacked up, and the Celtics shoot more threes than anybody ever by a huge margin.
That's crazy.
So that's the bigger question here for the NBA. It's not just who's going to be the next star post LeBron, post Steph. It's going to be who's the next star that's American, because apparently that does seem to matter. And again, we can argue that it should not, but these guys that I'm talking about are really, really good. Luka, Giannis, Jokic, these guys are all-time greats. And I think the NBA still is trying to figure out who the next guy is, because I don't think they see any of those guys as it.
Yeah, I wonder if a star could be born, theoretically speaking, through a tournament like this. Like, say it's Trey, because he's in this situation now, and he goes all the way and he really makes a big name for himself. Could he be somebody that they try to pivot towards and maybe try to get in a better situation with the roster construction and all that stuff, and maybe put him more in the spotlight? I think there are guys out there across the league that they can definitely put more of a spotlight on. But I guess if you're trying to do that, it turns into more of like an aggregate thing as opposed to like a specific guy. Because it's true, we don't have a actual like specific guy. If it's not Ant, if it's not Ja, who has his own things that he sometimes deals with, I don't really know who it is. That's a problem.
That could be a problem. And again, do you think that I'm onto something though with the fact that you've got the European-based players that for whatever reason there's a different reaction to them?
Yeah, probably so. I do think so. I just think it's striking though that we're here with the tournament here, and there are some really big names in this. Yeah. It's just kind of crazy that that's kind of where we're at with this all. And I don't know, like I said earlier, I don't know that this is from a fan perspective a bad thing. I think it's great, but in terms of the league, this is not what they wanted to see, especially for a prime situation mid-season. And I think regardless of how this is all gone, I think that it's been as advertised. We've gotten the basketball that we wanted to see, competitive, defensive battles and stuff like that. And on that topic, I think the NBA decided somewhere along the way that, and you can tell by rule changes and stuff, that just offense is more exciting. And I think that's their consensus. So maybe that's part of it too, is that even though these fights have been rock fights and more competitive, if you don't have some of the main offensive stars, maybe that's a factor too. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things.
I still think, Thunder Rockets, $39. Yes, please. I'm there all day. I think that's going to be such a fun game.
I don't want to see Dylan Brooks, but I'll go.
No, but I will go to watch that. I mean, that's going to be fantastic. I'll tell you the last thing here on this though, the tournament in general. Again, I like the NBA Cup in general. I am in favor of it. But I'll tell you what, the people who are against it, like they've got reason. The people who don't like it feel like this tournament is a gimmick and it's being just shoved down their throats. And especially when you look at this abomination, the Rockets court, these courts.
What's up with the lines?
I don't
have all those lines over there.
Oh, I mean, look, this would be a phenomenal setting if you're going to play a giant game of Flores lava. But for an actual basketball game, this abomination needs to be burned and buried deep where no one will ever find it. Get rid of the ashes of this thing, because like I even had my dad text me last night, who is not a fan of the NBA Cup. I'm a fan of the NBA Cup, but my dad texted me and said, I can't even watch this game because of the court. And he's more in the casual fan portion of things right now. But his opinion is not unique. I think a lot of casual fans see stuff like this and this court, and they say, I can't even watch this. I think they're doing themselves a disservice with the courts. I also think that the fans who don't like the NBA Cup are kind of getting beaten over the head with it. It's like they're trying to make fetch happen here, and the NBA is doing everything they can to make sure that, oh, no, this is going. Again, I like it. I think the quality of play steps up. I think it's fun. I'm for it, but I get the loud and vocal response too from people saying we don't like it. One of the things they don't like is the floors, and one of the other things they don't like is they don't feel like they're given any other choice. But no, you are going to watch this, and we're going to make it clear that you're watching an NBA Cup game, and you must like this because we're telling you to like this. I think people are feeling like it's a little bit heavy-handed from the NBA on that side.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could go back to all reliable and just do jerseys. I mean, just
Yeah.
more like special jerseys. I don't know. Maybe you can even make all red, super shiny jerseys if you're the Rockets, and maybe do that instead. That might go over better than just the whole court being different.
I think it's so easy. It's such an easy fix. I mean, look, Donnie, all you got to do, it'll still stand out that it's an NBA Cup game. Leave the cup at center court, leave the keys as they are, and then give me a regular floor. It'll still stand out. It'll still be, whoa, why is the key different? Why is there a big trophy at center court? It still tells you it's an NBA Cup game, but it's not. Again, I think the floors themselves, as much as I like to complain about them, it just continues along with this trend of shoving it down people's throats. And a lot of people don't like, or some people don't like the NBA Cup. And so I think that could be part of the ratings issue too, as well as perhaps the ticket prices beyond the, I think the bigger thing though, is the lack of stars, the NBA promoting stars, all of that. But the tournament itself, the way that it's promoted, the heavy-handedness of it, I think that has something that has turned off a portion of the fan base.
Yep, I couldn't agree more with you, man. I think that there's just so many different layers to all of this as it pertains to ratings. So like I mentioned earlier, if you guys want to check that video out, you can do so right now. It's clickable on the screen before you go. Make sure you subscribe as well, and we will see you all over there.